Welcome to Talking Point on DBS Radio. It is Thursday, the 23rd day in the month of January. Where am I going of January? And let me go to Studio 2 to welcome our guests. We'll be talking social security, the Dominica social security this morning. And I go to Studio 2. I'll start off with the ladies. We have two ladies with us this morning. And then, of course, we'll hear from the gentleman. Madam Executive Director, good morning to you.
Hi, good morning, Ivona, and good morning to the listeners of DBS Radio. It's not too late to say Happy New Year to all the listeners, and especially our stakeholders, our pensioners especially, and all other insured persons. Happy New Year. We look forward to serving you again in 2025.
All right, it's a pleasure to have you on, of course. And Kamasha?
Hi, good morning, Ivona, and how are you today?
I'm fine. Happy New Year as well.
Many happy returns to it. It's our first program
for the
2025. And we want to extend Happy New Year to all our stakeholders, all the listeners of DBS Radio, and also saying good morning to the staff at Social Security, hardworking employees of the Dominica Social Security, who serve our stakeholders with pride on a daily basis.
All right. Augustus Etienne, look at how I put you last.
That's okay.
Good morning to you.
Good morning, and good morning to all the listeners of DBS Radio. And like my colleagues, I want to extend best wishes for 2025 to all of your listeners, but especially to all our stakeholders at Social Security, remaining committed to serving them this year, as we have always taken pride in doing.
Okay. All right. So I look forward to a very informative program as usual. And of course, we'll welcome your calls at some point on the program. You can make your contribution. You can ask a question, make a suggestion. We welcome your participation. Madam Executive Director, how was 2024 for the DSS?
2024 was, again, as usual, one of mixed results. We continue to see an increase in our contributions because, contributions is what in the main finances the payment of benefits and operations. So we continue to see an increase in our contributions, but at the same time, we also continue to see a large increase in our benefit payouts. So it was one of mixed results as usual, where our investment income had to keep on subsidizing our operations. So yes, we are grateful that we saw an increase in contribution income. However, there was also a growth in our benefits expenditure. And that's what we exist for, is to pay benefits. And so we have to make whatever changes that are necessary to ensure that we can continue to pay our benefits. The one expense that we have control over is our administrative expenses, and we continue to keep that way below what the maximum that it can be. So, but as far as benefit expenses are concerned, we operate in order to pay benefits to our various stakeholders, of which our pensioners is the largest percentage. And so we continue to pay. Our pensioners can vow that they continue to be paid on time, but we note that the expenses for benefits continue to grow every year.
Right, very interesting. Seeing that it's the first program for the year, I also wanted you, maybe Augustus, we could look at that as well. In terms of the highlight for that particular year, anything comes to mind as far as 2024 for the DSS?
What we do, as Mrs. Thomas said, the thing we exist to do is to pay benefits. Everything else that we do is secondary. Our main purpose is to collect the contributions when people are working and paying, and when they are unable to earn their income, to replace their income for them. So the fact that we continue to do this unabated is probably our main achievement. And well, we didn't have any major activities per se. We had a few seminars, we had a few employer seminars, we had a few sessions with different stakeholders. We had visits to the secondary schools and stuff like that. But these are just part of all of the activities that we undertake to try to strengthen the system, but to ensure that our people are appreciative of our role and their responsibilities as well.
But generally, you find that a lot of people are reaching out to the DSS. You find that growing even more commercial? maybe asking questions, wanting greater
Well,
clarification on things? Do you find that a lot more people, accessing the services that the DSS provides?
Yes, I would say so, because I think our interaction with the public has somewhat been enhanced throughout 2024. We've had quite a number of interactions with school children. Well, most of the secondary schools, we would have met with their senior students who will
Interesting.
live in school during the year. And also we were invited to a few forums with stakeholders. We had an engagement with cruise stakeholders, for example, youth, young people with the DYBT, and we have also had enhanced presence on the media throughout 2024. So I think our interaction with the public was somewhat enhanced. We met with a few employers who invited us to meet with their staff as well. And we are also extending this call this year again for persons who would like us to meet with their employees. They could just extend an invitation to us and would be happy to do so.
Okay, interesting.
And to last year we saw where financial institutions made the having a social security card one of the basic IDs that they need people to have to open an account or to access funds. So as a result of that, many persons came to Social Security to try to access a card. And while that imposition wasn't with our knowledge, our prior knowledge, it has served to have a number of self-employed persons in particular come into the office to try to get a new card. But in trying to get a new card, they have to regularize their status with the Social Security.
It has to be updated.
Because we do not just offer an ID card. We offer coverage for various benefits. And so if you need to have a Social Security card, you need to also be covered under Social Security. So as a result of that, we have seen where that has actually forced a number of self-employed persons, well, everybody, but in particular self-employed persons, to come and regularize their position with the Social Security. So,
hence the reason why it's important to, always have your information updated.
Yes. And to say that the coverage that Social Security provides is very important. One might think, well, I am saving, but I always tell people, when you're saving, you have access to those funds, and anytime you need the money, you'll go and take from it. And there will come a day when, well, nowadays the financial institutions hardly have passbooks, but in the days of passbooks, they would stamp cancelled from cover to cover on the book to tell you that don't come back because your money finished. But that's not the situation with Social Security. With Social Security, once you pay contributions and you have enough credits to qualify for the various benefits, you will continue to be paid, notwithstanding the fact that the contributions that you've made over the years, you would have used up everything. Your benefits continued. So there's no cancelled stamp at Social Security. And so people must stop thinking that I'm young and I can work still and I can make my money, I can support myself. We never know, and we're seeing it, Ivona, we never know what lies ahead there for us. A sickness, a sudden death will stop us in our tracks. And Social Security will be there to fill in the gaps. So all the people dying there, they may be dying and leaving children who could qualify for benefits. But for the fact that some of them did not pay contributions when they could have been doing that. So yes, you may say some employers, because delinquency continue to be a problem that we have to face. In fact, we are proposing very soon to publish the names of the delinquent employers with a view to one, to making their employees be aware that their contributions are not being paid, and secondly, to alert the employers publicly that you need to honor your obligation to Social Security in favor of your employees. So last year was a good year in the sense that our contributions continue to grow, but more so our benefit expenditure, and we are always pleased that we are able to pay our benefits to our beneficiaries, our insured persons, at the right time and in the right amount too. So that is our strongest selling point, our ability to meet our obligations to our insured persons in a timely and efficient manner.
So names will be published, a decision. But it's not the first time you'll be doing this.
No, we did it in the past, and we've from last year, after our anniversary last year, after the 1st of February, we had an amnesty. We launched an amnesty in order to give some delinquent employers the chance to come into pay and have their late fees waived, so that way they would be paying less. Some employers did take advantage of that, however, some didn't. And delinquency is a thing that is like a plague. Once you get, once you find yourself there, then you have, you get into a bad habit. So it's more bad habit where you don't honor your commitments. And that one is a serious commitment, because employers must always be reminded that part of the contributions they have to pay in for money is deducted from the earnings of the employees. So as I told an employer the other day, you're actually committing theft, because you have deducted the amount from the salaries of your employees, and by failing to pay even their component of their share of the contribution, it means you've stolen their monies. And so employers need to recognize that this is a serious responsibility and honor their obligations, because by not honoring their obligations, they are negatively impacting the well-being of their employees in the future.
So delinquency is really a serious issue.
It is. And
Because
really,
whereas there are people obviously who contribute every month for when they have to. When you have a portion of people who are delinquent, it will affect even the people who are doing what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And I mean, while we note that delinquency is a problem, we also must recognize that for the most part, most of the employers do honor their commitment to Social Security, and they pay their contributions on time. But we cannot neglect the fact that there are those who give us problems to pay. And this is a legal obligation. And there's even more of the part in it too, since they are deducting from the employees' earnings, and they're not remitting it to Social Security.
Kamasha, I'm sure you two have your take on the whole issue of delinquency from your department, from what you are saying.
Definitely, Yvonne. And one of the things we encourage contributors to do, even when we go out in forums and we meet with people, as much as possible, we encourage them to check in with the Social Security office, follow up with us to ensure that your employers are actually paying those deductions on your behalf. Because what you may find, you may just be relying on your pay slip as confirmation that your monies are going to Social Security, but that is not always the case. In many instances, the delinquent employers do in fact provide you for a pay slip saying, yes, they deduct X, Y, and Z from your salary for Social Security, but it is not received at Social Security. So as contributors, you have an obligation to check in periodically. You don't have to do it every month, but periodically you check into the office. You come to the office, we can provide you with a contribution history of your records, and you will know whether in fact your employer is actually meeting their obligation to pay those monies to Social Security.
That's a level of injustice.
Because to Ivona, that impacts your benefit entitlement. If you need to make a claim to Social Security, we'll go back to those records to see whether you are current with your contributions. And if contributions are not coming in for you, you may not meet the required number of credits that you need to make a claim for certain benefits.
Yeah. And we have said this a number of times already. There are employers who, yes, they will present probably a slip or something indicating that Social Security was deducted. Yeah. But the onus is on you. So when you talk about updating your accounts, it does not only mean that you have to go, if you have changed your address, you have to go and change that. And that's important to do at DSS. Yes. That's important, or your phone number. Yes. But you should always find out about the status of your contribution. Is it being paid?
Yes.
And things like
because
that.
Sometimes I've only encountered a person who would come in to inquire, and at the time they come in, the contributions that have not been paid into the system for them are sufficient to have allowed them to qualify for a pension. So at least 10 years contributions not having been paid, but the person coming at that point where sometimes it is even too late because the employer is no longer active, the employer is no longer, we can no longer reach the employer. And so that's why we keep on encouraging them to come in to inquire. while we can make a difference, while we can in fact find the employer and get them to comply.
Yes, indeed. They need to do this in a timely manner. Do not wait for the 11th hour just before they qualifying for their benefit to come and check. If you make it a habit to check periodically during the course of the year, we will tell you what we have on record and you will know. But I've been working since whatever time, and all you tell me is just that you have. It would mean that some contributions are missing, and we can take steps at that time to try to recover the contributions rather than waiting several years down the road when the employer may no longer be around. And some people take comfort in just having a social security card and being able to flash it around. The card just means you got registered at some point. It is the payment of contributions that give people access to the various benefits. So some people will have a card and they're happy. And when they get to 65, they come and never paid a single contribution because when they registered, they might have claimed to have been self-employed and never came back to pay. So the fact that they have a card, yes, they are a member of Social Security, but if there are no contributions, they cannot access a benefit.
Wow.
And too, I want while we're on that point to say that the self-employed persons especially, they must not wait until the last year before they turn 65 to come in and want to pay back contributions for the last 10 years. That is not possible.
And I still find normally there's a rush, especially when people reaches that,
Yes,
that
it's
age.
as if they realize,
I
didn't realize I reached there, but
Yes.
look, I'm there. And when the staff would talk to some of them downstairs and tell them, well, we can only allow you to go back 2 years. They say, I look for Janice. But Janice can't do anything for you at that point in time. It's the law.
Yes.
So you have to pay your contributions as you're going by, so that when your time comes to qualify for benefits, you'll qualify for your benefits without any problem.
So
But
don't
standing out there, not paying, and waiting for the eve of your 65th birthday to come and try to pay us back for the last 10 years in order to assist you in qualifying for a pension. That is not right.
Wow.
And
Okay.
it's not allowed.
Okay, people, I'm sure you're listening. So take this in. You don't wait for when a problem arise or for when you're almost 65. For it to say, oh, let me go to the Dominican Social Security. Periodic checks is very important. You can go in person. You can call on the phone. And get the information.
But you see, this system is you're supposed to be contributing to the system as you're working and earning, so that if anything happens to you that affects your ability to receive your earnings, you have access to receive income replacement from the system. So some people saying, well, I'm healthy, I decide that I haven't got need. You just don't know when something is going to happen to you. And all the insurances we pay, the motor vehicle insurance we pay, the property insurance, the health, the life insurance we pay, we never know when something is going to happen. So you have to pay the premiums in advance of something happening. So the same is true for Social Security. You pay contributions as you work and earn. And while you're working, if something happens to you that affects your earning ability, then at that moment Social Security will kick in to replace the income that you're losing because that particular thing has happened to you.
Yeah, so in advance of something happening. Let's go to the telephone.
Yes.
Hello.
Good morning, Ivona.
To you as well. Good morning.
And good morning to your guests.
Good morning, caller.
Very interesting program, though.
Thank you.
I do not have any problems with DSS, I must say. Due to the fact probably that my employer was the government of Dominica as a public officer, and it was incumbent on the government to put in my Social Security payments. I am retired, and I know I can look forward to whatever it is I'm getting from the Dominica Social Security. Now, DSS can only survive if first of all, employers, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, that the DSS is having problems with employers, mostly, and self-employed persons. And we must understand if we do not make those contributions, there is no way, not even people like me, whose contributions we sure can benefit from my pension. So I want to encourage people to, follow up, and they're given the information very, very clearly, follow up, call the number, go there, find out, because you have to ensure that it is incumbent on you as a contributor to make sure that your contributions are going in. So when you retire, God willing, you can, just go up and collect your pension. It's a very, very good institution. I want to commend the DSS for the hard work that is doing, taking care of, those of us who are no longer working. And I also want to commend them for giving back to society Not too long ago, I went to receive, something for an institution. And I mean, they give a number of us. We can't get plenty one time, but a number of people getting something, at a time. So kudos to the people who are there. My former student, Miss Jean-Jacques, and my relative, Mr. Etienne, and the other young person who is there. So let us continue to push the agenda of the DSS, and those of us on the outside who are benefiting, let us help in the education process. Thank you and have a good day.
Well said. Thank you. Thank you for this.
Thank you.
Yes, she hit the nail on the head. Eh?
Yes, thank you.
Well said. Of course, you could call us 1-800-327-448-3284 if you're calling from overseas. 1-305-432-9744. We are talking Social Security, the DSS, the Dominica Social Security. And if you're just tuning in, we welcome you and we ask, of course, that you contribute. I was just saying a very pertinent point there raised by that caller, Augustus Etienne. And it just goes back to the importance of looking at the status of your contributions, finding out for sure, of course, if you're employed, if your contribution is going definitely going to the Social Security. So sometimes you don't only have to just wait on a piece of paper to tell you yes. No. You have to file it in person. You don't wait for when a problem arises. Yes, you go to find out.
Because sometimes too late, as the saying goes, too late shall be your cry. Because sometimes you can't reach the employer anymore. The employer migrated, the employer has since died. And then the contributions can be recovered. But if you do it in a timely manner while the employer is still operating, under the law, we have officers who go out to investigate, to get employers to comply and do what they have to do. So we can get information from the employer, get them to commit to paying when they are able to by installment or whatever means. But at least we get the information, because if we haven't got that information, you may be denied a benefit when you really need it. And it really irks our hearts when we see the people come, and sometimes they come and they really, dire straits, and they really can't help them because the contributions have to give that would entitle them to the benefit is not recorded against the name.
Wow. Let's go back to the telephone. Hello, good morning. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, good day.
Oh,
go
let me
ahead.
call from the radio.
Yes, you should. There's a feedback coming through. Okay, I don't know. Well, we lost that caller. I think we lost that caller. Hello? No, the person is not on. The person will call back. The DSS is on 1-800-327-448-3284, 305-432-9744. You could call us and make your contribution on the program. We also want to look at the changes this year, the changes to benefits and contributions. But let's go back to the telephone. Let's see if this person is on. Hello?
Hello, can you hear me clearly?
That's clearer. Go ahead.
Okay, I've been a public servant, and I must admit that Social Security is really trying their best to make all workers benefit from their contributions. My concern is that I'm about to file in for my benefits, but my concern is that the Social Security is saying they are taking your best 10 to 15 years. Now, they also say that there are 52 weeks in a year. I am saying, why didn't they take it by the weeks instead of the years? So what I'm trying to say, if they check in the year by January, do they check the year by January to December, or they check it by the person's year in their birth? The time they born, that's one question. And another thing, if you're taking it from 10 to 15 years, why the Social Security cannot take it from through the weeks instead of the years? Because after the 15th year, it can have a year, the 16th year, that have a higher contribution. They were taking it by weeks, like it could be quarter of a year or half of a year. So the client loses by then. But if they base it on year, the client doesn't get all their true realizable benefit, because I can remember talking to a senior officer in the DSS, and I was telling them that Social Security wasn't being paid because I was over 60. So they told me, since you are working and you're not yet 65, you're entitled to pay Social Security. So I tell them, why? Because after 60, apparently, you cannot really get anything. They told me, no, all the little bits and pieces add up. Now I'm getting to know about your 10 best years or contribution between 10 to 15 years. So I'm concerned about the little bits and pieces that are of a higher value, which may not form a year. It might be 6 months or 4 months or something. So in my opinion, if they are doing it by weeks, to me it would be weeks within the same 10 to 15 years. So let's say it's by weeks. You would draw down the number line to, let us say, between 12 to 17 years with the necessary high amounts for weeks and not years. So I would like to shed a light on that.
You all got this clearly,
Okay, caller. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you for your concern.
So they're going to respond, right? Thank you for your intervention. Yeah.
So you start working at whatever time, at whatever age. When you start working 30, 40 years ago, obviously when you start working, your salary would be at a certain level, and over time, your salary would increase with inflation, with promotion, with greater experience, and so on and so on and so on. The system takes account of your total contributions when you qualify for your pension. Yes, we look at your total contribution history. What in fact the system is doing is to try to reward you, compensate you on what is your best salaries prior to your becoming pensionable. So when we say we're taking the best 10 of the last 15, it is the last 15 years that you paid contributions. It doesn't have to be the last 15 years before you turn 65, because you could have stopped working at 45, 50. And we're looking at the last 15 years that you paid contributions on record. And we're selecting the 10 years in that 15-year period where your salary is the highest. We add that together to derive an annual average salary to pay you a percentage of that average annual salary as your pension. What the system is in fact doing, and you made an interesting point that they should take, if it's not a full year, when we're looking at the 15 years, we're looking at 20 to 24, back 15 years. And in one of those years, you might have just 6 months pay. But in that year with the 6 months pay, if your salary happens to be higher than another year in that 15-year period where you had a full year's salary, we would use the 6 months salary, which is higher, as part of the 10, and we add it together and we pay you a percentage of that average salary as your pension. The percentage that we pay you is based on the number of contributions you will have accumulated during your entire working life, from the time you started up to the time you become pensionable. You need 500 weeks to qualify. At 500 weeks, you get 30%, and that 30% is increased by 1% for every 50 weeks above the first 500. So this system is, in fact, trying to reward you, compensate you on your best earnings prior to retirement. So you're not losing in any way. You're not losing in any way. And the fact that we're looking at 10 out of 15 doesn't mean we're ignoring your other earnings, your other contributions prior to that period.
Because the caller made reference to all the bits and pieces. Mm-hmm. So all the bits and pieces are what come together to determine what percentage you qualify for in the end. So all the bits and pieces are not lost. They come together, accumulated to help us determine the percentage pension that you qualify for. But the best 10 years out of the last 15 years is how we arrive at the average salary on which to calculate your pension. And it is meant to look at the earnings the best earnings that you had before retirement. So we don't go back from since you started working 30 years ago. We look at your last 10 years,
15.
Your last 15 years, of which we select the highest 10 years to get the average earnings on which to base our calculation for your pension.
And one of the questions that we normally get from people, Ivona, for example, if somebody is migrating, they may wonder, what about my contributions that I have already paid to Social Security? What happens to that? Can I get it now? That is where it comes in. When we again calculating your pension, we will look at all your history, all the contributions you have paid to Social Security. So you worked in Dominica, you stopped working for a while, you go overseas, perhaps you come back. All of these records are there, and at the time that we are calculating your pension, we will factor in all of the contribution history that we have for you.
And Mrs. Thomas made reference a while ago to the little bits and pieces, and that's why she always stresses that every single contribution counts, because 1 week can make a difference between you qualifying for a pension and not qualifying. That is why it's important for people.
So you can't waive a contribution. Every contribution.
No, every contribution
it has to come in.
It needs to come in and to be recorded, because if you get to 65 and you 499 credits, and we search and we can't come up with additional one, we cannot make you qualify for a pension. So that the employers you might have worked for early in your working life who probably neglected to pay for you and you did not check to make sure we got the contributions. That could deprive you of accessing a pension. Every contribution counts.
Interesting. 1-800-327-4483-284-616-1327. You can send us a message on that number. Let us look at the changes to the benefits and the contributions provision. What of course we're in January, so what is happening?
Ivona, I want to start. I will start batting first on that one because we have some very good news for our pensioners this year. You know, every 3 years we have in our regulations that every 3 years we pay an increase on pensions in payment. And this year I'm pleased to announce that our pensioners will be enjoying an increase of 4.27% on their pensions. So all pensions that were in payment up to December 31st, 2023, from the 1st of March 2025, they will receive a 4.27% increase. So since we started with the automatic adjustments to pensions, that is the highest increase our pensioners will be enjoying. So it is based on the rate of inflation over the past 3 years, and we are actually paying them the average of that. So this time, that's the highest they will be receiving a increase of 4.27% on their pension. So everybody who started getting their pension up to December 31st, 2023, they will be seeing that increase automatically applied to their pensions come 1st of March 2025. And I mean, it is coming at a hefty cost to us. That is going to cost us over $2.8 million. All right, so an additional cost to us on our pensions of $2.8 million just because of that increase to the pensions of an increase of 4.27%. And so all of the pensions will increase as a result. So even our minimum pensions will now increase, which will move from $76.81 a week to $80.10 a week.
4.27% increase. And as you said, that's a big figure. That's the highest we have.
That's the highest we've ever paid. The highest increase we've ever applied to pensions in recent years, quite a few years. Yeah. So by law right now, from 2007, every 3 years we have to pay an increase representing the average inflation over the preceding 3 years. And when we look at the inflation rate for 2021, 2022, 2023, we got an average of 4.27%. And that amount will be automatically.
So that came from what? The review of the actuary or the actual review, right?
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
So hence, therein lies the importance of this review.
Yes. So
which is done periodically, is every 3 years?
Every 3 years. Every 3 years.
But that is a recommendation that was made in a previous review, and it went into law. So it is actually SRO 12 of 2007 that makes it possible that every 3 years we have to put an increase on our pensions in payments. So the last increase was done in 2022, and then the next increase is due from the 1st of March 2025, and that increase is going to be 4.27%. So that is a very big increase for us. It is going to cost us, out of our benefit expenditure, the pension expense is the largest one. However, we do have the provision to make that increase, and we're going to make it effective 1st of March, where our pensioners will enjoy a 4.27% to their pensions.
Pensioners will be happy for this.
Yes, right. And this is unnecessary. And this is a necessary thing because what happens in the industry is that you have to maintain the value of the pension over time. In the industry, they refer to it as indexing of the pension. When you first got your pension, you could do a certain amount with it. You could accomplish you could buy a certain basket of goods with the pension. But over time, if the cost of living increases, that value is dwindling. And so the indexation, the periodic increases that we give on those pensions is meant to restore, in part, the value of the pension. So as you rightly said, Ivona, those things are advised by actuarial analysis. And every 3 years we have to do that review for the actuary to look at what's happening to the system and to make recommendations and projections that are meant to ensure the sustainability of the system over the next 60 horizon. So none of those changes that we make at Social Security just happens willy-nilly. They are advised by actuaries who come and they do their evaluation, they look at the risks, they determine the premiums that are necessary to mitigate those risks. They look at what's happening in the wider population, what's happening in the state of the economy, and all of those things, and they make recommendations and projections. Another change that is happening, which is not new, but which again was advised by actuarial analysis several years ago, when we needed to increase our contribution rate, because what we have to strive to do is to strike a balance between three things. We have to ensure that the system remains sustainable, that the benefits that we pay are adequate for people to live comfortably, and the contributions that we are assessing or charging people is affordable to them. We have to strike that balance with those three things. So the increase in the pensions in payment is to maintain the relevance, the adequacy of the benefits, but we also have to address the financing side, because when we started, Mrs. Thomas indicated that contributions is the main source of income to the system. Yes? And so we pay benefits from the contributions we collect, we meet the cost of administration, and we are supposed to invest surplus funds not needed immediately for future use. So there has been a financing gap. If you look at the rate at which we take contributions in and the rate at which we pay benefits out, there is a gap. Now, we're not necessarily comparing the contribution rate with the rate of benefit, but the benefits that we offer, the entire package, represent a certain value of the wages that we are collecting contributions on. And back then, the cost of the benefits was, I believe, 23%, and we were just collecting about 9.75, 10% of contributions. So we needed to reduce the financing gap. And so they had recommended increasing the contribution rate. And we as management, regrettably so though, when we deliberated, we sought to try to minimize the impact on our contributors and settled to have a gradual increase of 0.25% per year. So it's going to take us 20 years to achieve a 5% increase. So in January of 2025, the contribution rate went up by 0.25% for all categories of contributions, as it has been doing since 2012. We are almost at the end of it, but right now we are thinking it might have been better off to just bite the bullet and increase it one time. By now people would have forgotten about it. So we have a responsibility to remind people every year that this is happening, and every time we put out the notice, people are reacting as if it's the first time it is happening. So employees going to pay an extra 0.25% this year. Last year the employer bore it, next year the employer will bear it again. We are alternating the increase between the employee and the employer, because let us not forget that it is the contributions are being paid on behalf of the employees to give the employee access to benefits. So while the employer has a responsibility to support the payment of benefits to his employees, the employees themselves have to make a contribution. So the contribution is the increase is alternating between the employer and the employee, 0.25%, and we have a few more years to go, about 5 more years to go for us to achieve that 5% increase.
I want you to repeat this for emphasis.
Yes.
I've been taking long notes as well, but I just got stuck somewhere. So say it again. This is very important. Okay.
So we needed to realize a 5% increase in our contribution.
Mm-hmm.
And when we deliberated as management back in 2006-07, thereabout, we were concerned about minimizing the impact of the increase in contributions on our contributors. So we settled on allowing the contribution to increase gradually by 0.25% per year.
Okay.
In hindsight, we think it was, we're not seeing the impact that we would like to see as quickly as we need to see it, but we were thinking of the impact on contributors. And since 2012, that 0.25% has been applied every year. And from 2019, it has been alternating between the employer and the employee. I'm saying every year we remind people that based on that regulation that was already approved since 2012, this is the new rate that they have to pay come January. And every time we put out the notice, we get calls and people are making comments in the media and stuff like that. It is not something that is new, but it is also something that is necessary to ensure the sustainability of the system. Now, people might say we not fear this, that, and the other, but the responsible thing to do is to ensure that you do what is necessary to ensure that the system remains sustainable, to pay even the contributors who have not started paying contributions to the system. Children who are yet on board, when they come on board, they pay their contributions. They have to benefit from the system as well. And you have to avoid doing things too late, because when you do it too late, you have to make more drastic steps for you to achieve what you want to achieve. So when the actuaries come every few years, they see things, they indicate changes that need to be made. If we make a habit of heeding those things and making those changes in a timely manner, the system will remain sustainable. Everybody will get their share of their benefit when their time comes. And future generation will not necessarily have to be at the blunt of making the system sustainable by having to wait longer to get benefit, enjoy lower benefits or pay higher contributions, all of those things. So in managing the system, we have to maintain intergenerational equity. The older pensioners who have died got pensions on very generous provisions. Current pensioners are enjoying generous provisions. Future pensioners like you and I, when our time comes, we have to wait longer. Other pensioners receive their pension at 60. You and I have to receive at 65. We have to pay higher contributions. Future contributors have to continue to contribute and all of those things. So you have to make adjustments to the system as you go along to make sure it remains sustainable and everybody can get their benefit when the time comes.
Wow, well said.
And just to add, the rates that shall apply from the 1st of January 2025, 6.75% shall be deducted from the salaries of employees.
6.75%.
6.75%. So employers shall deduct 6.75% from the salaries of their employees. That is those who contribute towards the redundancy fund. And for those who do not, they will still be contributing 6.75% from the employees. The employees the self-employed persons will pay 13.50%, so that's increased from 13.25 last year. This year it shall be 13.50%, and voluntary contributors shall pay 12.19%.
1.5.
On 12.19,
1.5.
sorry,
12.15%.
Yes, on the assessed earnings for the year. So those rates will only apply from salaries from the month of January.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so December shall be at the old rate, but from January 1st, all salaries for the month of January shall attract that new rate.
Okay. Let's go back to the telephone. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
To you as well.
Caller.
Go ahead.
Good morning to the members and members. Good morning to Rivanik and also the world. Now, I have two issues and I have two problems same way with this. But now we're at this thing. I see the construction work, right? And the register me to pay Social Security even before I pay Social Security getting paid. Now, I had a serious incident which I lose a piece of my finger and I come out 0 from 0, I get 0 in here. But next point again now. Now, that's that. Right now, I have an officer license. If I have to become a member of the Social Security, or my asset going up or coming down.
If your asset is going up or it's coming down, your asset from your business as a huckster?
From my as a huckster license in my business.
When you say asset, what do you mean by asset?
Because
I mean my rate.
Okay, we charge.
Okay, that's it. That's
all.
Well,
I'm listening.
Okay.
Up and running,
Yes.
fireman when I'm listening.
Okay, yeah, he's going to respond. Yes, okay.
Contributions are paid as a percentage of an earning. Benefits are also paid as a percentage of the same earnings on which you pay contributions. So the contribution rate increased by 0.25%. But if your earnings doesn't increase, your earnings remain the same, the contribution rate goes up by 0.25% and you pay 0.25% more in terms of contributions. So when you say assets, so the amount of contributions you have to pay in dollar value will increase by 0.25%. So if you're earning $1,000, your contributions goes up by $2.50 for the month. So you pay contributions as a percentage of the earnings that you declare to us as a self-employed person. And when we pay your benefit, we pay you a percentage of that same salary on which you pay contributions. Did he say something about his finger?
He said something about his
finger when he was a contractor or he was doing construction work.
Because if he had lost a piece of his finger, then there's been a benefit that could have been paid at the time. But right now, it's too late. But if something happened to him on the job, he should come and report it to Social Security. We'll investigate. And he may very well have qualified for a benefit then. So that's why people mustn't just stay out and think. Come into the office and report if something happened to you so that we can advise you how best you can access the benefits that would have been available to you. Because if he lost a piece of his finger, that means loss of a faculty.
Yeah.
And there's a benefit that is payable for in that case.
Mm.
But another thing I'd like to advise him, if he's involved in the construction sector, he must ensure that his employer is in fact making contributions for him. Or if he's a contractor himself, he must make sure that he pays as a self-employed person. Because I will always emphasize the fact that construction is one of the sectors that is very challenging. They are more prone to having accidents on the job. Yet there's where you experience a lot of avoidance and evasion, and you have a high level of delinquency.
I'm happy you spoke to that, but I think he said that he was involved in the construction sector maybe long ago, but no, he's a huckster. But that information that you said is so very pertinent, very important, especially for people in that particular sector as well.
Yeah.
And
So as a huckster, he should pay
Self-employed.
his self-employed contributions.
self-employed contributions, yes.
So that would just add to whatever he had on record in the past when it comes for him to qualify for a long-term benefit.
Sure.
So the reference to he lost part of his finger and not having got anything, maybe he was not covered at the time. Because that's the importance of getting registered and making sure you are in trouble employment when you are working. Because when something happens to you on the job, even if you have not paid a contribution, you can access benefit, but you have to be registered and your employer has to be paying for you. So even if you were working with a contractor and the contractor did not report contributions for him, or we're not aware that he's working with that contractor on record. When the incident happens to him on the construction project, we cannot cover him, we cannot give him benefits. So he has to be covered at the time when he's working.
So whereas the employer has to pay the contributions to the Dominican Social Security, I think the onus is also on the person as well.
Yes.
Because you have to make it your business to ensure that it's being done.
But you know, sometimes in the construction field, sometimes the
Yeah,
workers tell the employers they're not interested in Social Security, don't touch their money. And when the incident happens to them, they come into us and say, look, I've been working with Ivona for so, and whatever.
Let's go back to the telephone before we end. And we haven't even touched on the certificate of life form. But good morning. You are on. Hello. Okay, we lost that caller. You could call us back 1-800-327-448-3284 616-1327. You can send us a WhatsApp message on that number. We go back to the telephone. Hello. Yes, hello.
Hello, good morning. I put off my radio this time. I wanted, thanks for the answer already earlier on, but I wanted to ask another question.
Sure.
Why is it that Social Security is adamant on not taking contributions from more than one employer? For example, if somebody is self-employed, or they work in two places, or you only taking a contribution from one place.
That's not correct. That's not correct for that.
Business for me.
That is not correct.
correct.
And again, we just made reference to somebody getting injured on a job. Hence the importance of making sure that every employer for whom you work has to cover you. Because you can be working two places. You have your day job and you have a night job. And something happens to you on one of the jobs, not on the other one. And the one that the thing happened to you not paying for you, and the other one paying for you. You cannot get benefit, because the employer on whose premises or at whose work something happened to you not covering you. We in fact require you to pay contribution from every employment that you have. Even if it means you're paying more than the amount that you have to pay, and we will refund you the difference. At the moment, however, if you are working somewhere and you are self-employed, we have a difficulty where the law doesn't allow us now to cover you both, which is something that we want. Which is something that we want, and we've been wanting this for many years now. And we're going to again pursue it with the authorities to pass the law so that you can pay in both capacities.
Of course, that will bring them some poverty. They need to do that.
Yes.
Yeah, we actually had the legislation drafted, but somehow it has been delayed. But at the moment, your employee status takes precedence over self-employment. But we do recognize that it can be to the disadvantage of some persons. So we've had the recommendation made by an actuary again some years ago where we should allow persons to pay in both capacities. And we're hoping that that will come into effect sometime this year.
Well, I'm supporting you all on that. But did you all go around the country, all over Dominica, and explain that to people? Because remember, Dominica, we have a lot of farmers, fishermen, people are self-employed, people make coconut cheese, they do all kind of things. So a lot of people now are registering their little businesses. So I think for Social Security to go back and get that being recognized by the government, they need to do an island-wide campaign like, and let people realize their benefits. It's all these things that need to be done, because when people do not know about those benefits, that is when they try to get their passport and get their passage and leave the country and think the country doesn't have no value to them. So I recommend that Social Security go around and talk about that employment, self-employment business along the employment, so that the people can see more value in Social Security and realize that you all are interested in people being self-sustainable. And then when you take that to the government with the support of the people, the government will have no choice.
Okay, that's it. They are going to answer. Thanks for your contribution again.
You're welcome.
Thank you, and I know you all will answer. I know that has been done for a lot of time, and one of the issues is that people don't. Anyway,
but
you're on, so you'll answer.
People, for whatever reason, until they find themselves in this situation, they don't see any value in Social Security. They haven't got use for Social Security. You go to them and they don't want to hear you. We have no difficulty talking to people and explaining the benefits of Social Security. We sometimes organize sessions in the out districts and we go and we don't meet people. That's why we tell people, organize this session, we will come. It doesn't matter what day of time of day, we will make the effort. Mrs. Thomas has emphasized that it is important for people to understand the role of Social Security. So anytime we get an invite, we take it on. Somebody, some officer or another will come to you and speak to you. We had situations when we were selling the need for reform. We went through the length and breadth of Dominic explaining the reason why those changes were necessary. And you went, and invariably the pensioners that always came. The people you need to meet, the younger persons who need to understand why we're doing what we're doing and what is in it for them. You're not seeing them. They don't have use for Social Security. We're on the radio every month. People not paying attention to us until something happens. Yep. Now, again, Mr. Thomas always say we have to do our work. Whatever it takes, we have to do it. And we will continue to do it as long as it's necessary. But people need to hear what we're saying. And, get on board and do what they have to do as well. Because this current pool of Social Security staff, they are so committed to Social Security. And they believe in what it is that we're about. But the people out there need to appreciate what we're about as well and support us as well in ensuring that we do so that they can enjoy the benefit tomorrow. If they're not cooperating with us, we have the force of law, yes. But again, it is very nice if people would willingly, voluntarily comply and cooperate with us so that they can get the benefit that we are meant to provide for them. Too many times people see us as the enemy, or they just taking my money, whatever. We taking your money to give you a benefit down the road. Now, some people say, but I'm not sure if I will get it. Sometimes you may not get it, but you don't know what's going to happen to you when. It's better you make the contributions and don't live to enjoy it than don't make it and you need it tomorrow and you're not there. And it's not there for you.
And I just want to add to what Mr. Etienne was saying. Social Security takes public education very seriously. Every opportunity we get to speak to people, we embrace it. We go out to schools, and that is why we are making it our business to go out to the schools to educate the youth about Social Security. So by the time they enter the working world, they will already be equipped with the knowledge and the information that they need about the Social Security system, what are their rights and what are their obligations as contributors. But as Mr. Etienne said, there are lots of people who have negative connotations about Social Security, and it is until something happens to them and they realize the importance of Social Security, that is when they are having second thoughts. So we're encouraging the public to make Social Security your business. When we go out to the public, we expect people to come. Don't just come with a negative thing about, I did not get benefits or that kind of thing. Everybody's circumstance is different, and sometimes the person may not have qualified for a specific reason, but that doesn't mean that you will not qualify for that benefit, because we have a range of benefits. And a lot of people may not know about all the benefits that they can derive from Social Security. But through education, through interest in the program, through making it your business, making Social Security your business, that is how you will learn, there is this benefit that some family member may have being able to qualify for. And we find that a lot when we go out to meet people. That is when we go out to meet them and engage with them and say, but oh, that such and such happened to a family member. And they will realize that there was this benefit that that person could have qualified for, but because they didn't know about it, then they miss out on the opportunity. So all the young people out there, we are encouraging you to make Social Security your business, get involved in the program. We have a Facebook page, you can follow us. We always put out information about what we are doing. We encourage employers, groups, churches, organizations, invite us to come and speak with your members so that we can educate you, our stakeholders, about the Social Security program.
Wow, well said. That's a very good soundbite for a promotional campaign.
Yes,
Well said.
And Mrs. Lloyd mentioned about going to the schools. In going to the schools, we're also hoping that the children will go home and have a conversation with their parents on what they learned about Social Security and encourage their parents to make sure that they are covered. So while we are preparing the school children for the future to be future contributors, we're also hoping that they, having learned something about Social Security, will return home and engage their parents in a discussion about Social Security.
Sure.
Useful.
Wow. We did not even touch the certificate of life forms. We have a call on the line. Let's just take this caller quickly. Hello? We'll end in a
Hi,
moment. Yes, go ahead. Thank you.
hi, good morning.
Good morning.
caller.
Let me ask,
Mm-hmm.
if you've been working for a very long time, for example, my parents worked at this industry,
Mm-hmm.
and then back then she was a member of Social Security. Now, if she was to pass, but working back then, she really did pay everything to benefit for 65 or 67 years to get a benefit. But she paid and she stopped. Now, if she were to pass, does a family entitled to any form of money? Seeing that she was a member then, but she didn't pay everything to qualify her to receive a pension monthly.
Okay.
Does the family
Okay,
will
caller.
the family will receive anything after her passing?
Okay, so to qualify for any benefit, a person needs to have made a certain number of contributions. So for the time she worked, and you mentioned GIS Industries, in those days, for the most part, Social Security didn't exist. And although Social Security started when GIS was still operating here, a lot of people, the contributions were not paid. But if she has some contributions in the system, once you have contributions in the system, you would be entitled to something. She may not have had sufficient contributions to qualify for a pension. She might have qualified for a lump sum at the time she retired, when she turned 60 at the time.
I have a question.
Just now.
Okay.
So if she had paid a certain number of contributions and she had gotten an age grant, a lump sum payment, upon her death, the family can access a funeral grant towards her burial expenses. If she had at least 50 contributions, she could qualify for that funeral grant. If she did not make 50 contributions, even if she had some contribution in the system, the family would not have access to that funeral grant at that time, because every benefit has a number of contributions as a requirement for you to qualify for it.
Okay. My reason for saying this is because I've been listening to Social Security, and there are persons who are not aware of that. You know, there are persons who doesn't know that if their family have been paying X amount of money, then upon their death, they are entitled to some funds. So I think Social Security need to enlighten people on that. Let persons know that based on the amount of money.
It's not even necessarily based on the amount of money. It's the
they are
fact.
entitled to something upon their death.
Okay. So, well, last year we did a series where we were talking about the different benefits that are available and what is required to qualify for them. So it's not even so much about the amount of money that you would have paid. It's the fact that you would have paid contributions over a period of time, that you would have accumulated a certain number of contributions. Not so much how much money you paid.
So
Yeah.
just to add that we do make an effort to inform the public of the benefits that are available from the Dominica Social Security, and so we're hoping that everyone will avail themselves of the information that we are aiming to provide, and not be interested just when they are ready for benefit. And even if at that point you still come in and inquire, okay, you still come in and inquire, we're always willing to give the information.
But to the point the caller was making about informing family members that they can get a funeral grant, when you go to make the arrangements in the funeral homes inquire because you know that grant is available to advise you. And we have some good citizens out there who, in the community, if they know something happened and they had a recollection that somebody, the person's parent used to work somewhere before, they might call and say, I know this family in dire straits in the community, their father died, their mother died, and I know they used to work so and so. Just checking to see if there is anything they can get to help them bury their mother or father, that kind of thing. So that happens. The funeral homes call to inquire. Concerned citizens in the community call on behalf of the family if they don't know. But I think we've been talking long enough for people to know all of those things. But again, if you come and inquire, if you even know the person was working somewhere or had a social security card somewhere, come and inquire. It is your right to do that. And we have no reason to deny you or deprive you of the information or the ability to or the opportunity to access the benefit if it's available to you. Because we exist to provide just that.
And on that same vein, though, we need to also alert persons to the fact that a grant is not payable after a year.
Oh.
So you need to, when a death has occurred, it is important that you make your inquiries as soon as possible and file your claim before a year, before the anniversary of the person's death. Your claim should have been made for it to be payable.
Yeah. Good point.
All right. Well, we have to end.
Okay.
We really have to end. But just quickly tell us about the certificate of life form.
Okay, Ivona, I will just add that to all our pensioners who are receiving a benefit from Social Security, their certificate of life forms are actually available for completion. So they need to do so before the 31st of March. The deadline for us to receive your certificate of life forms is March 31st, 2025. After this, failing which, if you do not submit by that time, your benefit may be suspended until we receive such notification that you are alive. And that is one of the requirements for receiving a benefit. For those who are out of state, however, who need to complete a certificate of life form, they can do so by calling us via video calling on WhatsApp. The number to call is 275-2600. They need to have a valid form of identification with them when they are initiating the call, and then we can renew their certificate of life form via that means. Before, they used to have to go through a notarization process, but we have since realized that poses some difficulty for some persons who are out of state, and so we have started from last year to allow them to call us on video calling via WhatsApp on 275-2600 to renew their life certificate forms.
Okay. All right.
And for those pensioners in the all districts who transact business with the credit unions, there, those forms have been sent to the credit union. So when you go there to collect your money, you can ask, and they will assist you in completing those forms.
By the way, your calendars are out, right? I received my lovely calendar. Is it out already for everybody, or?
Yes, the printers had some issues with their paper, so we're hoping to start receiving more.
We should get some by next
by next week, God willing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know the older folks in particular, they
Yeah,
like their
that's the Bible. That's the Bible.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, let me thank you for joining us. The calls are still coming, but we have to end at some point. We'll obviously continue on another program in the month of February. Yes, we have had a lot of information disseminated via the Dominica Social Security. For years now, we have been doing this, and people have to make it a part of the itinerary, sort of. Just remember, on the third Thursday, well, it's the fourth Thursday this already today, because of course the first Thursday was New Year's Day. But generally, on the third Thursday of every month, the DSS is always on DBS Radio, imparting the information to people, taking calls and things like that, accepting your suggestions, and so let's keep it going. Yes. And if you're not sure about something, obviously you call the office too, and
yes, indeed,
and ask your questions.
Indeed.
Madam Executive Director, so we'll continue to do it. As you say, yes. The information is key. Yes, sometimes there are challenges, especially when people are not too receptive,
Yeah.
But we have to continue the effort to ensure that people are well informed.
Yes, everyone. Thanks for having us. We look forward to being back sometime again in the near future.
Thank you. Have a good rest of the day.
Okay,
commercial.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Dominica Social Security on Talking Points. This morning, that program you will see on our Facebook page right after, because of another live we had. It was not possible to have two live programs on social media at one time, but obviously it will be there for posterity, so you can see it and view it and learn more, at your convenience. when you're ready, of course, to view that program. Thank you again. That's it for Talking Point today. Let's recognize Flow Fast Pay.
Flow Fast Pay, a new and easy way to pay. Flow Fast Pay, Flow Fast Pay.
You asked for it and you got it. A quicker way to pay your bills online. It's fast, secure, and easy to use. No registration, no additional fees. Flow is now offering FastPay, an online service that allows you to settle your bills in less than 2 minutes. Need a receipt? FastPay will send it to your email immediately. Use FastPay now for convenience, safety, and efficiency at discoverflow.co/fastpay.
Flow Fast Pay, 2 minutes and you're on your way. Flow Fast Pay, Flow Fast Pay.
Flow is keeping you connected.
In a world filled with mobile phones, tablets, and computers, one may ask, why radio? DBS Radio has the answer. For 50 years, we've got it right. DBS Radio reaches so many people, and that link with our online presence seals the deal. DBS Radio informs, educates, and entertains. We are a trusted source. We build community. We go beyond electricity. We go beyond mobile signal. We go beyond literacy. We are DBS Radio, a ray of hope in challenging times.
Secure yourself, secure your family. Register with Social Security. Make sure you're